Good morning, Yasha Allah, 12 tribes, and to the world. We are returning right now to complete a mission that we were charged with to provide a presentation by the title of Validation and Condemnation of History. We came before a little while ago and we treated the subject in-depthly. And for this part of the exercise, we are going to, I suppose, continue where we left off from, with the addition of a definition of a title. The first word is validation, and with validation, we have accompanying the thought of validation. We have the principal thought of truth. If we speak the truth about someone or something, then we really validate it. We give it value by speaking the truth about it. Now, the truth that we say about it might not be likable to the individual, or it might not be a likable description or presentation of the thing that we are validating. But in any case, whoever is receiving the point of validation would be having at their disposal the truth concerning the particular thing or person, or in this case, of a historical account. The truth will be uttered and set forth in whatever form, available or agreeable to the one presenting this truth. And we have the definition of condemnation. The part of describing condemnation that I take to is the confirmation of a death sentence. Condemnation. Be given a death sentence, in this case, to history. The history, a particular history, and those concerned with creating such an history. And so here we go. We talked about the fact of the 400 years of enslavement of the 12 tribes, that according to the scriptures, in various places, we find the action of nations and individuals concerned with the desecration and destruction of the 12 tribes. But when we look further at the condition or conditions that the 12 tribes have had to survive under, what was done against them by the nations of the earth, has been a matter of consternation. Many nations say those people have suffered, have really suffered. Of course, we have a buttress by a false presentation of some people that got burned up, perhaps in Germany, who were claiming to be the people, claiming in fact to be the chosen people, and have never had the experience of the 12 tribes. In fact, they are not a tribe within the tribes. And you see, if we might use the word, an invalidation of history, because it is a lie that the Jews, the Jewish of Germany, present to the world that they were the chosen people who were persecuted by the nations. And one nation burned them up. That was Germany and Hitler. But concerning the 12 tribes, we know, the whole world knows, that the 12 tribes have been brought to a low point of recognition in the earth. And it seems to be that, well, in fact, Mashiach, our king, says that you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. That put the cap over everything. Historical, analysis, whatever you have. He says, our king says, you shall be hated of all nations. And this has been the condition of the 12 tribes throughout their history in the earth. And with particular reference to the 400 years enslavement, it is something that is on the lips of everybody in a proverbial way of speaking. Everybody know that the persecution, the destruction of the 12 tribes has been unprecedented up to the time of their handling, how they have been handled by the nations of the earth. And so I'm saying, for the benefit of my brethren, the 12 tribes, who are still, even and although the resurrection of the King lends eternal weight and a validation that cannot be denied or in any way correctly spoken against. You cannot correctly speak against the resurrection of the Mashiach. And therefore, the validation of the 12 tribes as being his chosen vessel. You cannot speak correctly of it and say that the resurrection did not happen and these are not the people that on whose behalf it happened. That's the point. And so it is pointless to say we challenge any philosopher, any historian, any critical thinker. It is pointless to say, that we put a challenge to these entities, but because none of them could challenge the resurrection of the Mashiach. None. So the point of push against the 12 tribes is a matter of real concern with regards to Gabriel, the fallen one. See, I notice in the delivery of opposition to the 12 tribes, no one speaks to the fact that the Most High, Yahweh, is the creator of the heaven and earth. Go and check the status, the status of those who speak to the enslavement of the 12 tribes. and those who have presented themselves as opponents of the 12 tribes and therefore represent themselves as the ones worthy of receiving the honor of the 12 tribes, even though they may be one tribe. I'm saying the point is incontrovertible that the crucifixion happened. I will state that mainly on the claim of Rome. Rome, that is the government of Esau, the one who said no to the birthright that was offered by the Most High, the maker, the creator of heaven and earth, and turned back in the will of Satan, who had gained entrance into the earth to be a part of the earthlings. This is what happened when the fall occurred. Satan gained the status of being one with the earthlings. So this became his home after he was kicked out of heaven, the Shamayim. This became his home. The scriptures say the devil who was cast down to the earth. So this became his home. This became his place of the place of his dwelling. He and the 1/3 that came with him. This is where they have dwelt. And having been accepted into the family, introduced into the family by the first woman, our first mother. So this became his home, and he therefore asserted himself being of a higher order of creation. He was a Malachim, a second-rate Malachim, cherubim. And so with that credit to his name, he asserted himself in the earth as the big boss. And rightly so. He asserted himself to be the claimant of authority in the earth and held on to that claim until the Most High made a definite pronouncement of his intention to set the matter straight and to bring political recognition to the problem. Because the earth has a creator. The earth has an owner who is the Most High Yahweh. And Satan coming into the earth as a part of the family of earth is a disqualification to him, because he was not made to be in the earth. This was not made to be his home. This is the home of man. So that was the first strike against him, even though he obtained his goal to become a part of our family life, our earth life. And so many of us have been enraged against him for making his claims, his assertions, some daring and bold indeed, that he should seek to put a people of his choosing above the people that the Most High chose, that the Most High has chosen for his purpose, a people to represent him in the earth and to be the guardians over the care of the earth, to set matters in the earth straight, to set the earth in right representation as desired by the Most High according to Torah. That is with regard to the earth itself as a planetary being with its ability, speaking about earth, the ability of earth to sustain the population of mankind that has been placed here to oversee the care taking of the earth. This was the matter at hand. And Satan, having been allowed into the family of earth, became a part of the family and has, therefore, since being let in, has asserted himself to the position of Elohim as creator. This has been the burden of the contest for the earth, and it has been hid from being made plain, as I have now been led to show you, to show the brethren of Yasha'Allah. We haven't seen it so plainly. And the people we call Jewish, who are the children and agents of Gabriel, the fallen one, they have done a thing called, what they call it, when they divide the scriptures? What's it called? Translation is a one word, but there's another word. It's a key word that they use when they talk about dividing the scriptures and making assertion of what book should be included in their sense of what the scriptures should represent in a book form, in their book form. The first formation of the scriptural letters to us was in scrolls. There were scrolls of the prophets. That's how the book came to us. That's how the representation of the word of the Most High came to Yasha'Allah, by scrolls. And since then, when Edom came into power, Satan devised a means of creating a book, and in fact, leaving out many of the books of the scrolls from being included in the canon of scriptures, according to Esau and the Catholic Church and their popes. And the purpose for that was, according to Satan, to create, I wonder which figure I should use, whether a sea or a mountain of confusion in the world among the populations of the earth. Whole lot of confusion, because scriptures, books of scriptures were set aside. They weren't thrown away, they were set aside and not included in what is called the canon of scriptures that Esau set up, that the Catholic Church set up. Their canon deleted the inclusion of many of the books that represents a whole lot of information, knowledge of principles of scripture, of the Torah. And it was Satan's design because he understood that a sentence would come forward against him. Maybe the Most High already, let him know what was coming. And with expectation, his effort became one that created confusion among the population of earth dwellers, to confuse the understanding of the Torah in its complete presentation, so that chunks of knowledge, information was left out by Esau from the desk of Satan. The intention was to create a time element The time element being a consumption of time and history, whereby the need for the knowledge that had been taken out of the scriptures had to be met and had to be filled in. So until the need, or until the actual scriptures, passages of scriptures, the portions that were taken out that contained so much knowledge for the family of the Most High, until these chunks of knowledge were regained, then the mishpachah was left hamstrung, maybe I could use, but they were actually left without much of the knowledge of scriptures, or scripture to buttress their war strategy against the kingdom of darkness. This is why Satan had Esau the word is getting away from me. Do a determination of what book should be in the canon, and they hid all that knowledge that we had to wait for, that we had to wait to be provided unto us. This is the matter that we have been combating for hundreds of years, I dare say thousands of years, to retrieve the knowledge that was given in those books that Satan led Esau to hide, to create time, a time space for him before the wrath of the Most High would descend on him and burn him up for all his bravery and boldness. He hid the scriptures to create time for him and time for Edom. That's why they've been so feisty about inserting themselves in our communities over the years. Oh, this was a bold attempt of them, brazen attempt. And they asserted their privilege to do it because they were all creating time, space to prevent the wrath of the Most High from coming upon them. The lack of knowledge that was in our midst was the cause. And it was the reason for the creation of all those translations, to have us searching here and there into those books that left out chunks of the actual truth of the original scriptures. So we were spending centuries of time looking for these pieces and bits. And Satan, skillfully, through his people called the Jews, Esau, had scattered the truth so far and wide through all the translation and hidden references that has taken this long for us to begin to catch up with those truths, that the Most High could have be satisfied that his claims have been presented to his people far and wide. He could have done it otherwise. He could have declared the truth in full unto us, as he had done to our forefathers previously. But he did it his way. And we can see that he has done marvelously towards us in these last times, and that he has filled in the gaps of our knowledge, information that was left out of the canon of Esau's compilation of the scriptures that he called the Bible. The Most High has, by revelation, provided those truths unto us, whereby we have been able to declare the truth about the French Revolution and the blood covenant that Esau and Levi put together against the house of Yehoiada, the house of Judah. to create all this mayhem and destruction in the midst of us by the revelation. And this would have been in the original writings that Esau hid. So you can imagine the shock they experienced when they heard the announcement of these hidden passages being made to them. They thought they had everything securely hid away and that we could never know it. This was their thinking. And then the Most High put it to us prophetically that we could make announcement on those hidden works that they removed out of the scripture and has filled in our knowledge to bring us up to this point. And so we had lacked a proper understanding of the wrath of the Most High against the rebellion of our forefathers towards him. And the Most High, in his mercy, has put it so that he would give us time to catch up with the knowledge that was hidden from us so that we could understand the truths of the scripture that Esau hid away from us, that we can get a true representation of his mind and his will towards us. And so that when we have completed the knowledge that he intended for us to have, then the rest of the story in Bereshith will spring into action. And we hope the time is not so long as it might be. We don't know how long exactly it's going to be. But the Most High has had the need for us to know his will in a full representation that was hidden from us in those books that Satan and Esau hid. This is the truth of the matter. And so it is our duty, Yasha Allah, to apply ourselves to the scriptures so that what has not been forthcoming, the Most High could give it to us by revelation, that our knowledge will be complete. And then shall the end come, because the criteria for passing sentence on Esau and Gadriel and Levi will be fully represented unto us so that we could know what the will of the Most High is for us. But he has shown his love in the Mashiach. So let's look at a couple of scriptures to confirm what we're saying here. First of all, then, is in Bereshith, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. I think everybody knows this passage, Genesis 1 and 1. We have one correction. In the beginning, this passage said God created the heaven and the earth. The actual truth is that Elohim created the heaven and the earth. God is Satan. So this was the matter of what do you call the word? The editing process that Gadriel put in operation through Esau to corrupt the text of the word of the Most High to us and to corrupt our understanding of the truth. So in the beginning, it is Elohim who created heaven and earth. And this same Elohim is the one who sent his word that we know as the Mashiach today to offer himself as a sacrificial offering in the bruising of his body by Herod and Pilate, the Edomites, that bruised him and broke his body by hurling a spear into his side. This is what Esau did. But complete, I use his word, use Esau's word, complete joy. They were full of delight to do it. It was so much fun to them. But when the resurrection happened, whoa, they had a reality check that they really didn't expect, even though the Mashiach confirmed to all that in 3 days. I believe this is what he said in the presence of Caiaphas, the Levite priest, and those attending the trial of the Mashiach. Destroy this temple, and in 3 days, I raise it up. So they thought it was, some kind of a joke. And didn't give much heed to it. But being that the Mashiach is who he is, and they knew in all seriousness that he never kicked a joke around. They had to take him seriously. And therefore, Esau created a security alert concerning him. And you go into the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and Yohanan, and you see what they did. They said, we need a guard for this fellow, this Hebrew fellow, this black fellow who said in 3 days he gonna raise the temple up. So there was a great concern for Edom, who from his beginning was against salvation. But when they saw him coming forth from the tomb, triumphant over death and the grave, I think the scripture says, then were they in great fear. Edom, that had all the boasts and the hard mouth, as we say in our local language here in the Bahamas, they had all that hard mouth. But when they experienced the resurrection, all the hardness of mouth was gone, and only fear and trembling of retribution was in them, as will come back to them in short order, if it hasn't taken them already. That the same Mashiach that raised from the dead in the time of their kings, Herod and Pilate, is the same Mashiach. He's alive today to defend his people that were born in the cradle with him, the 12 tribes. They were his companions. I told you this over and over. They were his companions, born in the same cradle, from the same cradle, only at a later date, because he had to let them come before him to be the herald of his coming, that he would give his life for them. That's the message of the scriptures. That's what Esau and Satan was hiding. That was the big secret that they were hiding. And it was us, 12 tribes. They wanted to hide salvation from. And look what they done. They got Levi, the fool that he is, to go and do a splicing technique to make Esau our head, to tell us about, a funny farm and chicken farm and whatever other else kind of farm they created in their mind, in their foolish mind, according to the scripture, that they would make of us. Well, your funny farm is going to be a reality farm. There ain't going to be no funny farm. There ain't going to be no funniness in this farm at all. All the funniness will be on you. You will be the funny ones. Esau, the Mashiach is coming to make it sure and certain. And until that time, Yasha Allah, we'll be learning. And some of our anxieties have already begun to subside, because those who have been combating us, even of our own, that call themselves, what they call themselves, comedic, they're getting the reality check that where they thought the scriptures was wrong, not giving heed to the fact of Esau's interruption of the scriptures with his translation and deletion of scriptural, characters, the letters and writings that Esau deleted. This was the point that the comedians, our people who became comedians, this is what they needed to do, but they would not do it. They let Satan get them stuck in a pointless argument, being unwilling to examine the facts. The facts are that Esau took out of the scriptures, out of the records, and hid the books. And this is knowledge, something that is understood to have happened. And yet, our brothers failed to do the check according to their knowledge that Esau has deleted these books, taken them out, put them aside, and made them not be a part of the revelation of the Most High to the 12 tribes, to cause confusion, and lengthened their time and Satan's time. This was the whole trick. They understood that the Most High don't play, that he's serious about his word. They understood it. But they dared to provoke him by hiding the scriptures from us and making it difficult for us to get a full and complete understanding of his will for us. They were buying time for themselves, time to live. And in that living, time, space, create more havoc and destruction on the earth, as they were allowed to do. And we are at fault. Our forefathers are the ones at fault. And we have been made to walk in their footsteps by the lack of knowledge and understanding of what really did happen in our past and what our enemies did to make life difficult for us. And now we know. I heard not very long ago, there's a brother, I'll call his name, as a point of correction. This brother who created this new book to debunk the knowledge of who we are and whose we are. It's funny that the name slipped away from me. And I know the name well. But the brother says he's from Jamaica, which means that he would be one called a Banyamite or Benjamin. And if he knew that he was Benjamin, he would know that he's number one on Esau's hit list for cancellation and destruction in the earth. But he doesn't know that because he spends his time fighting against the truth of the Most High and the truth concerning himself. He doesn't know that the one that he is rallying with is his destroyer. For anyone there who knows the brother that I'm talking about from Jamaica, who put this new book to debunk the truth of the 12 tribe Hebrews. Oh, I might remember his name later on. But you can tell him, I am in the Bahamas. I'm his brother. We're from the same tribe. And we are number one on the hit list for extermination in the earth. So it behoves us to give attention to the Mashiach, who brought out the revelation concerning the 400 years enslavement, the additional truth that was hidden from us by Esau. He brought it out to us in the blood of covenant offering in the time of Napoleon and the making of Let's Make a Slave. That was actually the work of Levi and not Esau. But Esau took the credit for it, being the political giant, if you will. And so, Yochanan 3 and 19. Yochanan 3 and 19. This might be our last scripture. It says, and this is the condemnation that has come into the world. This is the condemnation that has come into the world. We talk about validating or validation and condemnation of history. The condemnation of history, we've validated already. That is the Most High who created it. That's the validation that we need to know, recognize, and acknowledge that is the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Mashiach, Yahweh Shai, Yahusha, Yahushua, the names we call him, that have, a valid representation. Jesus could never be a valid representation of the Mashiach. That's a dog. That's a hater and destroyer. But the validation and condemnation of history is in that we understand, that we of the 12 tribes understand that it is our Father, Yahweh, with his Son and his Ruach, that created the heavens and the earth. And at the point of condemnation, the condemnation comes on the heels of the fact that the other one that was allowed to have space in the earth as belonging to the family of earth was Satan, and the 1/3 that was kicked out of the Shemayim with him, that have lived on the earth and created all this havoc and inducted Esau and Levi into their camp, into their war camp on the earth, in the midst of us. All this, the Mashiach had to come and make amends to, bring correction to the disorder that the one we let into the family had brought and created. This was the holdup in our address to the 400 years enslavement. We had to get this knowledge of these intruders that have been so boisterous in trying to get their message across, that they should be accepted as a part of the human family. Revelation called them dogs. Without our dogs, they are dogs that keep trying to validate themselves as worthy, what should I say? Worthy of being a part of our existence. No, they are dogs. They are destroyers and should be understood and known as that. And for that matter, be discounted as part of our heritage as they try to make themselves seen to be as worthy of sharing our inheritance. not worthy, unworthy, completely unworthy. And it is this that we should know. So this is the condemnation concerning all these who have opposed the Most High Yahweh and Mashiach, whom he has sent to bring redemption to the power of his Ruach. This is the condemnation. Let's look for the condemnation. Yochanan 3:19. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world. Light. Who is the light? Yochanan says, what's it, 3:6? Where is it? 6 and something, 6 and 14, I believe it is. That the Mashiach says, I am the light of the world. Or 14 and 6, something like that. I am the light of the world. And so the kingdom of darkness have assailed the kingdom of light, being unwilling to, give in to the fact that they are not citizens. In any case, not worthy citizens, and have been rejected by the true king and the citizens of his kingdom that he brings. And I guess, we probably got to say, we give them what grade should we give them? Should we give them an A for effort? That they be so bold? That Esau be so bold? To think that he could stand up in the face of the Mashiach, the Creator, and represent his claim to kingdomship here. That he should be absolute ruler and ruler over us. Ah, man, come on. That should be ruler over us, the children of the king, the owner, the proprietor. Would he allow that? And you got your king, who is an intruder. Seeking, I guess, is this a re-entry of a request for citizenship that Satan is making? Because the first entry that he achieved was disqualified in the crucifixion. So where does he have any right to make an appeal? I don't see the record for the appeal that Esau is making reference to and claiming to be the citizen of that land where the very name of the Most High is written there, that it is his property. I mean, how can you do these kind of things and seek to be validated as being true and honest and worthy? You are dogs and have no right. If you persist, then the word will come true that the king will remove you off the property. He's got the might and the power and the equipment to do so. We know you have gone and prepared your own, your own arsenal that you think would protect you from him and give you another bill of rights to have access and prominence in the land and over the inheritance of the land. We got news for you, and we are presenting you with the good news. The good news is that the land you're squatting on is the inheritance of our king. And he's coming to take, simply to take his inheritance. That's all. You're not taking anything that is not belonging to him. It is his. He paid the price for it. When did you pay your price for it? That's a fair question, isn't it? Show us some record where you paid the price for it. We are the children who are the inheritance of the inheritance that our king obtained for us. So I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. You could show us the record where you purchased this inheritance. You show it to us. I know you can't show it to us, but you've been making representations already. Come on, make it better, that the world could see that you are a man of integrity, man of faggots, of integrity. Yes, I call you faggots. That's who you are. And no faggots will be in the kingdom. So you disqualified yourself again. This is the word of the Most High. No, nothing that makes a lie will be in the kingdom. So you will not come in the kingdom making believe that you are a male, that you are a man, and you are, in fact, a faggot and a perverter of the true nature and image of the Mashiach. You disqualified yourself again, Esau. And so our case is closed. We've given you the truth. We have validated our claims. The claims of the scripture has been validated in your presence. The next move is yours now, in the name of the Most High and the Mashiach. So let it be.